The last time I talked about Arifureta, I declared it to be still not good, beckoning some comments that questioned whether or not I was surprised by this fact. After all, it seems like exactly the kind of show I would completely hate. In response to those comments, I feel I must address the fact that I do not actually hate the Arifureta anime. In fact, I kinda like it. I have enjoyed watching particularly the first and third episodes, and I only found the second one to be mediocre. My review of that episode probably should have been a lot harsher, actually. After all, I don't disagree with anything that this person said in their comment about why the episode was so much worse than I gave it credit for. And maybe they're right that having seen the amazingly bad first episode set the bar so low that I wasn't really thinking about just how bad it really was. But the fact of the matter is that I don't hate the Arifureta anime. When I said it was awesomely bad, I really meant the awesome part. But to get to the heart of what it is about this show that compels me to watch and even enjoy it when it is so bad, I have to talk about more of the foundational elements of my tastes, and where my fascination with stories like this comes from. Because on some level, my appreciation for a show like this is totally sincere. If I didn't like anything about the core narrative, it would probably be boring to just watch a terrible anime. After all, even though I found the aesthetic of Handshakers totally fascinating, and even appreciated its ambition, and just how unique its badness was, the actual plot and characters didn't grab me enough to try and watch more of it. Aretha Franklin is unique in that it does kind of speak to my sensibilities. I can feel a sense of kinship with the author and his tastes and interests and sort of get where he's coming from. After all, I am a total edgelord who spent his teen years completely alienated from my classmates and harboring resentment for the whole structure of society. And blonde lolly vampires who've suffered for hundreds of years and have self-regenerating bodies are more than just my fetish. I've literally written my own stories about them. In fact, I too have been a web novel author. I too grew up reading light novels and taking inspiration from them, along with JRPGs and anime. I've written characters who act like this, have powers like this, and have been in circumstances like this. So while all of that may be fairly broad and applicable to plenty of people and published works, it is still a higher level of connection that I feel towards this story than I might to something which doesn't hit so close to home. In my video series about the Asterisk War, I came to the conclusion that I probably would have enjoyed the show as a teenager, even if it wouldn't have necessarily been my all-time favorite. In the case of Arifureta, I think I would have loved it even more. I can imagine myself at 15, when I was at my lowest point emotionally and really feeling like the world was against me, and when I was really just a total fucking pussy, completely relating to how the main character is at the start, and wanting to become exactly the badass, give-no-fucks, intelligent edgelord that he becomes after drinking the monster blood. Even the relationship that he has with Yue speaks to me a lot more than what I get from most anime. That kind of immediate intimacy and almost hypersexual tension is much closer to what I'm about than anyone trying to mask their emotions or be a tsundere. Yue is so direct, so naked both figuratively and literally, and also mysterious and powerful in ways that I would have adored, especially at a time when I would often fantasize about both being able to protect someone and to be protected by them, so that I could be both useful and beloved. If you look back at all the anime I've talked about over the years, the ones I get most in depth with tend to be light novel adaptations. Many of my favorite anime are adapted from them, as well as the ones which spark the most immediate ire within me. I caught on to light novels in 2005, long before they had become popular in the West, when just a few daring publishers like 7 Seas were taking the risk of releasing them, and before they became largely regulated to just whatever had gotten anime adaptations in the wake of successes like Haruhi and SAO. But I digress. Light novel authors have a very particular way about them, a way for which I think Nishio-Isin was a kind of patron saint and cut right to the heart of it. Light novels are for people who feel like they're smarter than everyone around them, but know that they aren't. They're for people who think they could fix all the world's problems if they were in charge, but also know that their perspective is too limited to actually enact a change on the world and are too lazy to do anything meaningful. So instead, they write escapist fantasies about being able to reshape the world using their own perspective, or about living in a world in which their unique knowledge of anime and video games makes them an all-powerful hero. They're made for and by wimpy millennials who wasted so much of their lives on media consumption that they don't understand how to communicate with other people by any means other than in creating the very kind of story that they learned their whole worldview from. So of course, I relate to them perfectly. And while I think a whole lot of the shitty light novels that have gotten turned into anime over the last decade were much more cynically crafted out of riding the trends in the industry for a grab at success, or were just made by authors so uncreative that they can't rely on anything besides cliche to communicate their ideas, there are plenty of them which nonetheless come completely from the heart. Even if those creators aren't talented enough to really have any original ideas, they are still crafting stories out of a collection of the things that speak to them most personally from the stories that they consume, and are pouring their real emotions and perspectives into the characters. Arifureta is clearly one of these stories. No, it doesn't have any original ideas, but the ones it has are combined in such a specific way that they have to have come from the author's personal hangups and fetishes. And those things are relatable enough to me that I can be both incredibly frustrated to get a story which presents them so poorly, while also being unable to turn away from my fascination at connecting with something so specific. And let me tell you, it's not like I would just consume this story in its entirety just because I connect to it. Most likely, I would have dropped this show immediately just for being terrible if it were actually bad in the bland and trite way that the light novel is terrible. However, it's because the anime is so uniquely and weirdly bad that it messes up so many basics of cinematography and storytelling and is so clearly the result of weird circumstances in its creation that I'm compelled to watch it. After all, there are plenty of shows that mess up in the usual ways, but awesomely bad shows are awesome because of how they show you things which you never get to see otherwise, and moments that you didn't see coming. Episode 1 had been particularly engaging just because it was so hard to keep track of what was even going on or how the fuck these mistakes could have been made, but episodes 2 and 3 have been a lot more straightforward and comprehensible. What we have now instead is a story which is just mediocre in a very normal way, but while having plenty of hilariously bad action scenes and CGI models, which are entertaining for the opposite reasons that they're supposed to be, but still bring a smile to my face nonetheless. The soundtrack is actually sincerely fantastic, which goes a long way in making the show watchable, as does some pretty detailed and interesting background art and attractive character designs. It's like the show simultaneously manages to look great and hideous all at once, and watching it dance those lines is fascinating. There is plenty to be criticized about how the characters are written and how clumsily some things are explained, but I would rather break those kind of things down more holistically once more of the show has come to air. There are lots of dumb-looking, goofy, or briefly confusing and badly directed moments, but you could easily understand what's going on with them at a simple glance. Like, if I have to explain to you how hard it is to tell what actual effect Yue's fireballs are having on this fug-nasty crab monster, then you probably wouldn't have even cared in the first place. But it's exactly those moments where the popcorn starts popping in my brain which make the show fun to watch, even if it almost certainly didn't intend to be enjoyable this way. It's an accident of fate which brought me and this show together, and I'm honestly thankful for it. If you want to keep hearing me talk about this show and other currently airing anime, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell because YouTube does not push my videos to all of my subscribers. If you want to help me to keep this gravy train a-rollin', donate to my Patreon. For even $1, you get over 100 hours of bonus content, and at any tier higher than that, you'll get regular bonus content that comes out every single month. Also, go listen to the Whirling Dervish podcast if you want to hear me talk more about my bizarre worldview and crazy fucking findings. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.